Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. On this podcast, Laura
and Shelby, both board-certified nurse coaches, show you how to make as much money as you want in private practice as a nurse coach. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. It is your double trouble here today, Laura and Shelby, here to dive into either a topic that you really love or that you really hate. And we hope that sharing a little bit more about marketing today, that you will love it just a little bit more by the end of this podcast episode. But before we jump in, I want to put on your radar that we have a new grad workshop on August 4th at 1:30 CST. Come hang out with us Friday afternoon. Laura and I are going to be coming in hot to that workshop because we're doing double workshops that day. Our mentees get a mentee only workshop earlier in the morning, and then we're going to come in and hang out with our new grads. So come hang out. We're going to have a special surprise for the live attendees on that new grad workshop, and we can't wait to spend some time with all of you. But let's circle back around here, Laura. We're going to talk about marketing today. We're going to give you a few benchmarks, a few guideposts. There's a lot. People make whole careers out of marketing. And it's really easy to get sold to, especially by people who do this as a career. So we want to filter it for coaches, for nurse coaches in particular, and really just give you a frame to digest information is the goal today.
Marketing it's super nuanced. And I'm going to tell you guys a story about baby nurse coach Laura. Started her business. I started it while I was in the collective. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know the term messy action, but I embodied it fully. And I had all these preconceived ideas. I needed a really fancy website before I could even launch my practice. I went to the Small Business Association to get free business advice. I met with a consultant several times. Now, looking back, I'm like, well, if a person's working for the SBA, working as a business consultant, then they're not a successful business consultant because it's so low paying, right? So even the advice I was getting, now I know that. I didn't know that then. And it wasn't industry specific advice. It was just random small business advice, which honestly, in the transformation industry, in the nurse coaching industry, it doesn't apply. It doesn't convey. It's not good advice. Mm-hmm. It's not that it's wrong. It's just not, there's no context. So I got free help launching my practice and did a lot of things that took time and money, including my very fancy, I think it was a $3,000 or $4,000 website when I had no idea who I helped or what I was doing. It was just a website. And I think I even paid for SEO, and I didn't even know what SEO was. There was all these things I did, and it didn't help me, and it didn't make my money back. And, Shelby's going to tell her story about how she created her first 10 paying clients. But I also want to note that she had a good business mentor who was a coach guiding her. And then we're going to tell you some firsthand stories from our community of what people have spent and fell prey to magical marketing schemes that didn't help. Yeah.
Laura, I really feel like you're missing a really good part of your story, that you had me as your peer coach on board with all of your bad ideas. I was like, yeah, Laura, send it. You need an office. You need a website. I have no idea what the F I'm doing either, but you do it. You go.
But I sold you. I was like, no, I know I need this. And you're like, you know what? I believe in you, Laura. You are right.
The true epitome of buying into your client's story right there. Holy smokes. So I I still did the website thing right out of the gate, right?
Mhm.
And just complete with the best intentions and total unawareness that that was the wrong. My coach told me not to do that, but I had already done it before I hired her,
Yeah.
which is kind of amazing because I hired her pretty quickly. But I had a friend who did actually a really excellent job, and she really tried to help me find my wording and find my footing. And for someone who had no idea what they were doing, I still think that she made something really pretty out of mud. Like, she did a great job, but it still within 3 or 4 months was completely outdated to me. Like, it was just, I grew out of it that quickly. But so I did the thing, right? I hired the coach. I had the website I didn't use, but I hustled like the old school way, right? I told my coach that I wanted to have an online practice because we were a military family at the time and I needed to be able to move literally at a moment's notice. And we did. Like, I did the old fashioned connecting. I did the old fashioned messaging. I showed up. I reached out to everybody who interacted. I grew my audience. I went into Facebook groups with people that I had things in common with, like traveling or travel nursing or hiking or dogs, like literally anything across the board, anything that I could have an authentic connection with someone over. And then I would just be in Facebook groups and bring people in. And, no surprises there. I attracted a lot of nurses without really any intention, just because I was a nurse and I could speak the lingo. And that's a lot of my story. So I worked with a lot of nurses, a lot of nurses that are now nurse coaches. And I worked with, even, this is so funny to me now, but even when I would go into groups, like there was a New York hiking group that I wanted to be connecting with people in, because there's people in my state, a hobby that we had in common, and I still attracted nurses in that space. I didn't even tell people that I was a nurse. I just, like attracts like, I guess. But one thing I did in the beginning that did create a couple clients, but the return of investment really sucked on it, was pay for leads. And I don't talk about this often because I don't want people to do it. I know, because I suckered you into it. I did. Y'all, this is how contagious stupidity is in the beginning. But like, Bark was a place where you could pay for leads. You like purchased a dollar amount, and then the dollar amount translated into like Bark coins or whatever. And then you could purchase leads information based on how many coins they cost or whatever. I forget. Anyway, I sunk a couple of grand into doing that. I did. And I got just enough success that like it was enough for me to keep going. I probably got 2 or 3 paid clients from there.
I got 2 or 3 terrible fitting paid clients that barely covered the Bark coins that I spent.
My leads were actually okay on there, but I mean, with cold leads like that, you have to hustle. Like, I would buy leads, and I mean, it's like the epitome of ickiness, right? Like, you call, you text, you email, you wait, then you call and you text and you email, and then you wait, and then you're like, man, how can I call and text and email them some more? Like, I just had no clue about like building relevancy or building a connection, or like, oh God, just none of that I know now. But that's how I created my first 10 clients, and it allowed, I didn't have a niche. I didn't know who I wanted to work with. I knew none of that. And this was actually a pretty good way of just sampling a lot of different types of coaching with a lot of different people, from interior designers to real estate agents to nurses, like floor nurses, clinic nurses, travel nurses, like a lot of different things. And I'm grateful for that, right? That was I did it. I learned how to do it. And then once you get to like the 10 client mark, you're like, all right, I'm done hunting. I want people, like, how do I do this a little bit more efficiently? And then that's when the game changes a little bit, I think, too. Yeah. But before we get into that, because we totally will, let's start with some stories of nurse coaches that because I think there's this like deep craving to just have it be simple and be easy, to where we get suckered in to the easy part. Right? We're looking for the shortcut. We want the shortcut.
We don't
And
want to, we just want people to come to us and we just want to coach.
yeah, this is so satisfying to the ego to have people just knock on your door and be like, I want you. I want you. I choose you. Versus having to like put yourself out there and be seen and heard. And then people have to choose you, right? Like we want to skip that part. But yeah, I'm open to some stories here, Laura, of people falling prey.
Well, we have, there's one I mentioned earlier. I'll have you tell just because I feel like you enrolled that person in our early business, about the funnel, $10,000 on the funnel.
Mm-hmm.
That story, but I'll tell a story about, this was actually not a nurse coach. Well, she's a nurse and she's a coach, not in our community, that I worked with when I worked for the naturopathic office. And she hired, I see his ads everywhere. I think his, like Yakim, he's the bald guy and he helps health coaches become successful entrepreneurs. So she spent 15 grand and like launching her, like creating a funnel and her signature class and her system and her thing. And I watched her spend 4 months recording videos, creating content, like so much work. So she paid 15 grand to learn how to do it. And then she had to spend the money on the Facebook ads. So then she spent another $15,000 on Facebook ads and got nothing out of $30,000.
Damn. That sucks.
Yeah.
That's painful.
I was like, dude, how can I get enough money to do what she's doing? This looks great. Like, I'm so glad I didn't.
Yeah. Oh man. And that's even like a cheap funnel experience too. Like I met someone early in my coaching days who was a PA and he left his PA job and spent, yikes, like 75K on a funnel that would generate really crappy leads, like people who just were not qualified at all. Yeah, man. And in the very beginning of our partnership, we supported a nurse coach who is insanely talented and has a huge vision and has grit and drive. Honestly, that's like unmatched.
Yeah, out of anybody I've seen.
Yeah, like literally this woman's potential is exponential. And she came to us after spending 10 grand learning how to do a funnel. And I remember her telling me, she's like, it's not that the advice was bad. Like, it's a good way to learn how to build a funnel, but it's just not what I needed. It's not the tool that I needed. And I think funnels back in like probably 2013 to 2016, when online marketing was like just insanely fertile and you could pay, like Facebook ads were new. They were cheap. They were cheap. iPhones didn't have any kind of security to like block your data from the Facebook, people. There's like all these factors that made Facebook ads insanely highly generating. Like, and the game quickly changed too. So then you have all these gurus teaching outdated kind of information. And then I think it's all missing the connection piece, right?
Yeah.
Like all parts of it for me are missing the connection piece. And I think in particular, like there are funnels and ads and blah, 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 blah for things that like it works, but I don't know that it's not the only thing that's going to make your business thrive when you're in the business of transformation and helping people do this like deep inner work. Because in order to do the deep inner work, they need to have a connection with you. Right. Yeah. Like there has to be some resonance between the two of you. They have to be attracted to you. There's all of these other energetic chords that you have to form with folks to make it happen. And whether that's in person or online is kind of irrelevant, but they're true nonetheless.
Yeah.
So here's the end of the podcast. Don't invest in a funnel. That's a new nurse coach. The end. We're done.
And don't hire someone to do marketing for you if you haven't had 25 or more paid clients. Do not hire anyone to support you in marketing, because if you have not had, and I'm just picking that number. I'm thinking of like a full-time coach for a year, would be 20 to 25 clients, right? So if you haven't been a full-time paid coach for a year, you haven't had 20 to 25 clients, it's highly unlikely that you have enough clarity and experience to hand over a stranger material that's going to make you money.
Yeah. I mean, we just did this and we barely had it together enough to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. And I do think that like you could learn marketing things along the way, right? Like
Yes,
there's
you
like
do.
so many things.
Yeah.
This is like my mind's going 100 miles an hour, but I think again, a really great benchmark is like once you've had 20 to 30 paid clients, then this is a good investment. Marketing can be, it will be more potent. You will get more payoff. You will know who you want to work with. You will know what problem you can solve and what problem you love to solve, because all three of those things are different and we can separate them out or bring them together to create your dream ideal client.
Yeah. You've also got to be good at, you've got to have some level of mastery in sales if you're going to be paying to have people come to you. Because if you have a low conversion rate and you're paying 10 grand for leads, but you have a low conversion rate because your skill set isn't developed yet, then it's also another waste of money. So the way we're going to like break this down, which there's no way to do this where it's black or white. So we're going to give you these gray generalizations about different stages and different types of marketing. So when you're a brand new newbie, what you do then is going to be totally different than what you do as an intermediate or what you do as an advanced or what you do when you're scaling. And when we're new, we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know if marketing advice is relevant to us at the stage that we're at. And whoever's trying to sell us the marketing is likely not going to tell us that.
Yeah. And I think also too, maybe as we go through these, Laura, we can attach some like financial benchmarks to them as well. Because I think that can be helpful, because we've never done paid marketing ever. We've just recently invested in branding, which is really fun and exciting. But I mean, we've made multiple seven figures and have never paid a penny in it. Which there's a reason behind that. And we'll get into that too. But we'll attach some numbers to things to hopefully make the gray slightly more clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so we kind of have like 3 or 4 categories here. But we have beginner, novice nurse coach marketing. We have intermediate nurse coach marketing, and then advanced nurse coach marketing. But let's start with the easy things, where probably a majority of you are right now. This is when you have less than 10 paid clients, right? We talk about 10 paid clients, 10 paid clients, 10 paid clients. This is just like really your beta existence as a coach is your first 10 paid clients. And this is where you're going to do so much learning, all the things. And this is the grind. This is the tugboat phase. You are going out and finding your clients and inviting them in. Almost always you're inviting every single one of these clients organically into a conversation with you.
Yeah.
That means you are going to have to make the post, go to the in-person event. You are going to have to directly invite. You're not just going to go out and tell people that, hey, I'm a nurse coach. I help XYZ. You're going to have to be like, hey, Laura, I'm a nurse coach. I help people transform their lives. Would you like to have a session with me? Right. There's that extra step to bringing them in and doing all the things. This is where people like invest in the website, invest in business cards, and like all of these extra frilly things that dilute the point here. Focus all of your energy on organic tugboat style, inviting people in. We do have something that makes this kind of easier and a little simpler. We've partnered with a platform called Cohere that can make like the website part and the landing page part like literally 99% more simple than anything I've seen on the market. So we'll have the details of that in the show notes. You can check it out. But there is a part of nurse, like our community, we like to look professional and clean, and maybe not perfectly put together, but you want to like have a thing for people to, we're professionals. We want it to look cohesive, right? So Cohere is really helpful in that department. It just makes the tech into stuff super, super clean and easy. But yeah, before 10 paid clients, nothing else matters at that point.
Right. That you can do general workshops on something that you enjoy just to get the experience of hosting free workshops or low paying workshops. I did this because I built my whole business in person, and it was helpful because people in the community see you as a leader. You get 2 hours in front of somebody, and then you get to do the invite after. So then the invite is warm. So you can create warm groups of strangers through doing workshops. And with Cohere, which I haven't been able to do yet, but from what I understand is that you can have a website to your workshop. So you'll always have like something tangible to give somebody. It won't just be word of mouth or a flyer or a Facebook post. You'll have a link that takes them through a description and lets them pay and schedule and reserve their spot. So we go from brand new solopreneur to kind of a professional looking something to give people in a day, as opposed to it used to take months to do this for most people. But essentially, even after a workshop, you're still inviting.
Yes.
You're still tugboating.
Yes. You're inviting people to the workshop, and then you're inviting people into a powerful conversation, right? It's very personal, very face-to-face, belly-to-belly, being connected, very intimate at this stage. And team, don't skip it. Don't skip this stage, because you will always be brought back here. Always.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. You can't get around it. There's no easier, softer way.
Right. Okay. So the next stage, intermediate nurse coach marketing, we define it kind of as like 10 to 25 paid clients. 10 to 25 paid clients can mean anywhere from like 15K to 100K, depending on your pricing, right? Like by this part in the process, you are confident, you are more confident, you are figuring it out, you are connecting with ease, you're starting to develop a niche and an ideal client who you prefer to work with. You're starting to be possibly aware of your zone of genius and what you're really good at, what you have an affinity for. You have like a little bit of clout, and you believe it too. Like you're drinking your own Kool-Aid a little bit, which is great, right? People love to hire coaches that are confident and enthusiastic and know what the heck they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like our masters, really. Our masters mentorship is exactly, this is where they land. And this is where you start to see yourself, you really start to see yourself as a coach. Most of the time you aren't really working a side job anymore at this. I mean, after 25 paid clients, most nurse coaches don't have another job. So there's no split identity. There's lots of things that make this easier, and it makes it a lot easier to market with the shifted identity as well.
Yes. Yeah. They definitely all like layer on top of each other for sure, of the evolution of sorts of nurse coaches. But in this stage, what can be good uses of your time and good marketing energy is like having your own Facebook group that is curated around the problem that you solve, going on podcasts that attract the people that have the problem you solve. Hosting events, that you'll never really grow out of that can also be honed in around your niche or the problem that you solve. And this is where we really like start to lean into shining bright as a lighthouse, right? You are being seen, you're being heard, you are possibly known for something. And then also this is where partnerships and sponsorships could really be helpful too. Like having a formal partnership with other healers in your community or other healers that are online, that you don't have a competing offer with necessarily, but more of like a collaborative offer that you can put out there for people. Partnerships and sponsorships is like a really big wormhole, but I do feel like it's worth mentioning here.
Yeah. For example, let me try to think of someone. Let's say I have someone right now who's in the sex niche, which is so cool. Like, it's so cool. She works
with, someone.
Val. Shout out to Val. Val's going to be our successful sex coach. So she really helps, I think, more middle-aged couples just feel more connected, have more intimacy, and reconnect with that side of themselves. Now, for her, sponsorships and partnerships can look like gosh, even like a sex toy company, like partnering with like a
Hmm.
sex toy company, and they
Yeah.
have an email list or they have a following, and she creates an agreement with them to market to those people because it's not a competing offer, but the same people might be looking at the two products.
Yeah.
Um, totally, so much potential here that Shelby and I are just starting to dip into and understand. And we're so excited for you guys and to bring this to you guys.
Totally, totally, totally. So again, this is like where we're expanding a little bit and entering to like the 10K and beyond measure. 10 to 150K is where
Mm-hmm.
this strategy lies. And then
You could
oh
also do some email marketing at this point as well,
oh
depending on,
yeah.
yeah, we didn't add that. So email marketing, I would be collecting emails from the day you start, like building your list, but actually creating an effective email marketing campaign. This would might start to happen in this intermediate phase as well.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. Um and for all of my nurse coaches that are like, what's an effective email marketing campaign? For now, literally just write emails. Don't make it complicated. Just write
Mm-hmm.
the email and then the campaign will present itself. All right. So last stage here, advanced nurse coaching marketing. This is like the 25 to 50 paid client range. Uh, so definitely like we're thinking you're entering your first multiple six-figure year, or like this is when this usually happens around like year 3 to where things
Yeah.
just you've been around long enough, you have some momentum and traction, and it just like poof explodes. This generally is between year 3 and 4 for folks. This is also when you might have enough overhead to finally start reinvesting money. Like you might have extra dollars in the bank account to where you can, everything doesn't have to come from you, to where you have like a 10 to 15% marketing budget built in, which is great. But definitely email marketing, your private Facebook group. You might even have your own podcast or your own like YouTube show or your own creative entity that is a lead generator for you. Partnerships and sponsorships become more fun here as well. Like you just have more leverage, especially for those of you who want to build online. You can start to leverage your audience as well too for partnerships and sponsorships, like very intentionally and with a ton of integrity. You
Yeah.
can lean that way as well. But the advanced nurse coach marketing, I think, is all about you're building your audience wide and you're building it deep too. So there's
Yeah.
kind of like two things that need to be happening here. You're always going to be connecting with people forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. That never goes away. Please don't ever stop doing that. We have a story that we will share at a future time about that, but don't ever stop the organic marketing
Mm-hmm.
and the connection and the belly to belly piece. It will decrease over time. You won't have to have such a high volume, but that's always a part of it. But you're creating intimacy with people, you're creating relevancy with people, and your goal is to be as many places as you can, especially if you're online. Repurpose your content on YouTube, on your Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. Like be everywhere that your people are looking.
Yeah.
That's where you shift.
And for most of you listening to this, this is going to feel totally overwhelming because this isn't, it
Yeah.
should be, unless you're one of our clients who's in year 3. And if you're in year 3 and successful, you probably work for us. So at this point, we're a young industry. So, eventually you will be maybe speaking on stages or finding companies to go be in front of, or speaking at your chamber of commerce, or there's these elements to you. You know who you are, you know who you help. It's really useful and valuable for lots of different groups of people. So then you could perhaps get paid to be in front of your ideal client through products and services that you offer. This would be a great time to have your own podcast. You could start your own podcast now if you wanted. It's just not going to probably create leads as much until you have a little bit of a bigger audience to launch it. AI has a huge part in marketing at this stage. There's all these things that we're just learning about because we're just at this stage or at the scaling phase. We only say this to lay the foundation to let you know that what you have to do your first year is not what you have to do your second year or your third year or your fourth year. But the skill set you build in your first year is necessary to build up.
Yeah.
Like you can't,
Totally.
if you do not learn the organic marketing game, if you don't master the organic marketing game your first year, everything else you build won't have as much
Punch.
success.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I use this metaphor a lot on my calls of like, we're laying the foundation in your first year and we want it to be really rock solid. I don't want any cracks in the foundation. We have to fill it all the way to the brim, right? So that it is strong and secure so that when we build up, it has integrity to it, and so that it doesn't crack and break and fall over. So this is like the very tippy tip of the iceberg of all these stages here. But this is a blueprint for what the next 5 years could look like for everybody. And big and here, if you're like, listen, that sounds great, I don't give a flying flip about podcasts and partnerships and sponsorships, I just want my belly to belly one-to-one practice, do that. Do it. Like, you don't have to jump on the scaling train here. You can have a 6-figure practice with 20 clients a year that is all built through organic marketing and referral only. End of story. So like that is,
I want to add a caveat to that though, because anybody who does that has mastered the ability to talk to strangers, to be curious about strangers, and to coach in such a way that their lives change. So there's great, like, we have several examples of multiple 6-figure and some 7-figure coaches that have no funnel, no podcast, all word of mouth referral. I mean, there's like examples of this.
Yeah.
And in marketing, if we're getting sold marketing or told that we need to learn marketing, if you still fear being seen, if you still get really nervous talking to people about what you do, if you are still really unsure if your coaching is good, don't learn about marketing. Right? Like there's these foundational pieces through organic marketing that automatically, like, your confidence rises, your identity rises, your ability to articulate and to be received rises. This is where I would have people really afraid join Toastmasters. Like there's all these things we get to do, which, by the way, in Toastmasters, you can also find clients because you're around and in front of people doing the thing.
Yeah. It's all possible. All of it.
Yeah.
All of it. Man, that was like the zippiest episode we've ever done. I'm so proud.
I think people probably thought we were going to teach marketing, right? Like that's, I think, what people thought. And we do in our mentorship at the right stage, at the right moment. That's the cool thing about having a mentorship or a mentor, is that they're going to tell you, hey, you know what, Laura, I think you're ready for the shovel. Like, you've been working with the hammer. And I think at this point, like, let's pick up a shovel. Let me show you how to use the shovel. These are the different kinds of shovels. We offer the right tool at the right time so that you don't muddle around and you know what to do.
Yeah. Even, being a coach now for 5 years, I guess 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to our mentor the other day and I was like, he was using acronyms I'd never heard of before. I was like, I don't even know what that means. And he's like, oh, there's so many things that you don't know yet that I get to teach you over our next couple of years together. And instead of that freaking me out, I was like, oh, thank God that he's just not going to open the floodgates on me today, because I don't have the bandwidth today. I don't have the care today. But that he has our best interests at heart as well. Like, it's so comforting. It's so comforting.
Yeah. When he says, hey guys, I think it's time to do XYZ, I don't have to worry about it being the right or wrong decision. Whereas in the beginning, I wouldn't have had any idea, like the SBA lady that helped me. Like, I just assumed she knew.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I was like, oh, she seems to have some authority. She must know. I think that's where in the beginning, we can have some, we can go off on little excursions the long way around when we don't have the right guidance or mentor. And a really good mentor is somebody who's created what you want to create in the industry that you're in. That would be what I'd say.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Marketing can be fun. You might even fall in love with it. I loved writing our last marketing emails. It was like a little online diary. It was really fun.
Yeah. I've resisted emails for so long, but here we are, full circle. They're not a bad time. So come be on our email list for one. Step 2, come join our Facebook group, hang out, the Successful Nurse Coaches Facebook group. And if you're a new grad, come hang out with us on August 4th for our new grad workshop. We'd love to see you. It is one of our only free workshops we host all year. And like I said, we've got a sparkly surprise on our workshop for you. So don't miss out on that one. And I think that's it for today.
Yeah, we covered some ground. All right, guys, thanks for listening. We'll see you next Monday, same time.
Bye.